I hope I'm not really late with this video. I had every intention on filming this video earlier, but it just didn't happen. So here we are in the second week of July, and I am giving you guys my June wrap up. Of June, I read quite a few books, and I'm pretty sure they add up to about 4,000 pages, maybe even a little over 4,000 pages. And it was a really good reading month. May was a really good reading month. June was an exceptional reading month. I read some amazing books. And in July, your girl is struggling. Not so much that I'm in a reading slump. I just have no idea what I want to read. I made a few obligations to fellow booktubers about books that I wanted to read with them. And that's already like 4 or 5 books. And then I don't know what I want to read outside of like a buddy read or a group read or like for a book club. So I'm really not sure. What I've been doing is just picking up random books, and if they're interesting enough at the moment, then I finish them. And if they're not interesting enough at the moment, then I jump to something else. So I would say that I'm mood reading all of July, so I can't really give a really good TBR. And I'm not used to mood reading. I am someone who makes a TBR. I typically stick to it. If I finish my TBR earlier, I add in a few more books just because I have more time to read. But by having a TBR, it makes me excited to get to the books that I want to read, and it holds me accountable. And so I feel like I'm everywhere right now with me just mood reading, because it's been a bit chaotic and that's not really my method. So I don't think I'm going to be posting a July TBR, but I will be doing a books I've recently read throughout the month of July, so you guys can see what I've been reading and what I've been finishing. But let's jump into the books that I read in June, which was my birthday month. I had a really great birthday. I bought a lot of books, and then after my birthday book haul, I bought some more books because I have a problem with capitalism, apparently, that needs to be checked. But I'm gonna have to end up doing another haul because I bought, I'm pretty sure, over 10 more books. So you guys can be on the lookout for like a part 2 to my birthday book haul, because I don't know how to stop spending. So first up, in the month of June, I read The Poppy War. I have an entire vlog. You get to see my reactions and my thoughts, how I felt about this book from beginning, middle to end, and I will link that in the cards above. If you wanted to know more in depth about my thoughts, you can click on that video and watch it. I did end up tolerating The Poppy War more than I thought I would. I almost DNF'd it a few times just because I'm a character-based reader, and this one was more so focused on the plot, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to the characters, and I didn't feel that connected to them. And there was a lot of time lapse as well that kind of affected my ability to read them, and I will get into this later. As far as the time lapse, it's not that I don't like time lapse, I just don't like how the time lapse was in this particular book. I almost gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I ended up bumping it up to a 4 just because the ending was really well. I did purchase The Dragon Republic. I hope that I can get to it this month. Like I said, I don't know what I'm going to be reading in the month of July, but maybe The Dragon Republic I will get to. But it was an okay book. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. I wouldn't say that I absolutely love it, but I am going into the second book completely open-minded, hoping that I will love that one or like it just a little bit more than I like this. So the next books that I read in the month of June, I read with Elena the Great, which is a fellow booktuber here on BookTube, and we read Jade City and Jade War. Now, guys, these books are absolutely amazing. I love them so much more than I thought I was going to. It has the perfect amount of fantasy, the perfect amount of world building. The characters, I love every single one of them. They just come to life off of the page. She does a really great job of doing character development in combinations with the plot. In these books, we follow a particular country. We follow international countries as well, and there's a lot of politics in this book, a lot of bodies. If you're looking for murder, there is some murders in this book that you will love, but it's about these clans that are at each other's throats, that are going to war. And this clan used to be one, and the 2 leaders of this clan ended up splitting, and they divided the clan in half, and now there's the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan, and now the original founders of these clans have died off of old age, and so now their descendants, like their sons and grandsons and granddaughters, are now the leaders of the clan. They're a lot more progressive than their fathers and grandfathers were, and so one of the clan leaders of the No Peak, she has like this dominating kind of plan. She wants to merge the 2 clans back together, and she has some international aspirations as well, to where she just wants to put herself in a political position of power. And the other clan, they're not really happy about her just deciding that she's gonna take their clan back and put them back together. They're willing to fight to the very end, and she is willing to kill whoever she needs to take over this clan, because I guess she just needs her numbers. And I don't know, it's just like a country dominating political power kind of story, and I fell in love with every single one of the characters. We follow their stories, and every single one of them is very different, and I really love it because it's a true family aspect. It is a clan, which is, I guess some people would describe it as a gang, but this gang has been around for a long time. They keep the cities and their neighborhoods safe, and they have political power as well, and they have a lot of influence over the government. There is this stone called Jade in the book, which is your fantasy aspect, and what I love about this book and what I love about the Jade stone is that it doesn't make them do supernatural things. It just enhances their ability to do martial arts. They can channel energy better, and they can disperse energy better, and so it kind of just makes them better soldiers, better warriors. They're called green bones in the book, so it just enhances their ability to be the best version of a green bone themselves. But every single green bone has Jade. Now, everyone has different amounts of Jade. The more Jade you have, the stronger you are. But what I also really love about this book is that there's a balance. You can't just put all this Jade on your body and think you're going to be the most powerful green bone to ever exist. There is some elements in the book. If you put too much on your body, then you can actually possess. Some of them have withdrawal syndrome, so it's almost like a drug. I would say maybe think of Jade as like a steroid. So steroids do give you great benefits, but they also do give you great downfalls, and some people have a mental breakdown to where they just go mad in the book by them having too much Jade on their body. So I really love that. And then there's some scientific aspects where people who aren't green bones, that didn't go to school to train to be a green bone, they can't wear Jade without them just becoming all consumed with it. And so the international people who want to get their hands on Jade, they created this aspect called Shine, which is like a scientific antidote to the problems that you get from Shine. So I thought that was really great in the book, because a lot of the things that we have, when you think of different countries in the world that they have their very special coal or gold or silver or mining, there's always people who want to get their hands on it, and they're willing to come up with different ways, scientific ways, to make sure that they can get the best and full use out of it. So I really love that about this book. I enjoyed these books so much that I feel like I'm gonna do a reread. I'm really happy that I got to read them with Elena, because it was just so nice to have somebody to talk to understand what's going on. There is some plot twists in the book, some things that take turns that you don't really expect to happen at all, but I enjoyed it. There was really no part of this book that kind of made me mad. I did have some gut-wrenching and heartbreaking moments, but all in all, I cannot wait for book 3, and I just really love that finally, when you think about two gangs going together, you just think that it's going to be a bunch of shootouts and fights and murdering and head decapitations, and there is all of that in this book, but the war is also political, which, if you know me, I love a political intrigue, and it's just absolutely great. If you want to read Jade City or Jade War, the books are pretty thick, but they're easy to understand. I think that these are very fantasy beginner friendly. If you're not someone who's really into fantasy books, or fantasy books can be confusing to you, these books are really easy to understand and very intriguing and hard to put down, and it's a great starting point if you're just looking for a fantasy book to try and see if fantasy is kind of your thing. I would definitely suggest reading Jade War and Jade City. I feel like I'm going to be suggesting these books to absolutely everybody, because I feel like everybody needs to read them. She definitely uses book 1 and book 2 together as a whole, so I would highly recommend that you continue with the series, because it does get better, and book 1 is dependent upon book 2, and that's also why I'm really excited for book 3, because I know she's going to tie all these books together, and she does it so beautifully. Now, about time lapse, in these two books we jump about 4 or 5 years, and I had absolutely no problem with the time lapse. Like, I never felt disconnected from the story, I never felt disconnected from the characters, I never felt like I was lost and didn't know what was going on. There are things that happen in the book, but you do get a chance to see the characters, digest them, and then she'll jump 6 months, 7 months, a year into the future, and you're like, wow, like just 2 or 3 chapters ago this person was this way, they've grown so much time has passed, but you're still so immersed in the story. And I will say that I feel like Fonda Lee did a better job jumping forward in the future than R.F. Kuang. I felt very disconnected from the story and very disconnected from the characters when I was reading the Poppy War, and I did not have that problem reading Jade War or Jade City, and they jump about the same amount of years in time. I just feel like her time jumps were very eloquently put, and I love these books. Okay, so the next book that I reread Muse of Nightmares, and you guys know how much I love Strange the Dreamer. I love it so much, and I really enjoyed Muse of Nightmares. I will say that I did not love it as much as Strange Strange the Dreamer. That was a 5 out of 5. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. But the books are so polar opposite from each other. The first book is literally just whimsical dreams and fantasies and just has all these fluffy, nice aspects. And Muse of Nightmares is literally the polarizing opposite of that. It's a very nightmarish book. The plot takes a dark turn, but it was still intriguing. I still absolutely loved her writing. I just really, really loved the dream aspect of it. The nightmare part was pretty good. I feel like the ending was pretty well. I don't necessarily think that I need a third book from this series. I really like book 1 and book 2. It tied the story up in a nice little knot, but she did leave like a not so ending in the back of the book. So I don't know if there's gonna be a book 3, but if it is, of course I'm gonna read it. Like, come on, let's be honest with each other. I'm going to read it, but I don't know if I'm absolutely looking for it or like begging for a book 3, because I just feel like book 1 and book 2 did everything that I needed it to do. Like, what else is there? Okay, so the next book that I have is going to be the 5th season. I also have a vlog on this one. 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it. I raved about it. If you click the card in the top of the video, you get to see all my thoughts about how I felt about this book. I, again, give it a 5 out of 5. Absolutely amazing. I just finished book 2 of this series, and I am in the middle of book 3. Once I wrap up this series, I will post a video on my thoughts about the whole series as a collective together. Right now, book 1 is my favorite in the series. It was just the best one that I've read so far, but I am liking book 3, and depending on how she ends it, it might be a tie between book 1 and book 3 over which one is going to be my favorite, so stay tuned for that. Okay, and the next book that I read, which The City We Became, I did not love this book as much as I thought I was going to love it. I didn't like the pacing. I wasn't in love with the plot, but I did like the characters. I did like a lot of the aspects that she put in the book that correlates to our real world, like police brutality, racism, discrimination. I feel like she describes New York absolutely beautiful in this book. I've never been to New York, but the characters just come off the page. They absolutely come to life. They exhibit what I think Manhattan would be. They exhibit what I think Brooklyn or the Bronx might be, or even Staten Island. But I also learned a lot about New York too, and I know that she calls this like her love letter to New York, and it absolutely shows in her writing. You can tell that she's become so accustomed to the city. She loves a lot of the things about it, and she didn't just go to New York and just live in one part of New York and just think that that was the end all be all. You could tell that she actually really explored the different boroughs of New York. So I really, really enjoyed those aspects. I love the characters that were sassy. I love the characters that were really no bullshit, straightforward. I even love the really shy character in this book. The characters were on point. I just did not like the pacing a lot. I remember being like more than halfway through this book, and a lot of the characters still had not met each other. Some of the characters don't meet until the very end of the book. A lot of them are trying to figure out what it is that they're supposed to be doing or what's attacking them, and they don't figure that out until more than halfway of the book either. So it's just, it felt like I think this book has 450 pages, and I don't think all the characters meet until like after page 350. I am not playing with you. It took that long for the plot to kind of come together. You're watching the different aspects from the different characters, and you're seeing how things are going. It just feels like there's a really big miscommunication and correlations from one character to the other. Individually, I loved each character. Some of the characters, when you paired them together, worked well together, and some of the characters did not work well together. I don't know if that was her trying to say that one part of New York doesn't necessarily mix well with another part of New York, because like I said, each character exhibits a part of their borough, but it just felt like a really big disconnect on the page, and the pacing was just not my favorite. I wouldn't say that I hate the book. I wouldn't say that it's a bad book. I just think that those aspects really made me disconnect from the story, so I can't say that I absolutely love it, but I did love some things about the book. That's my thoughts on The City We Became. Okay, so those are all the books that I put in my TBR that I said I was going to read, and they were all pretty good, so I went through them pretty fast. I did end up reading some more books. I read Black Girl Unlimited, which I absolutely love. It made me cry. I don't want to talk about it right now because it's just going to bring back all these emotions, but Black Girl Unlimited, 5 out of 5. I ended up listening to it on audiobook, but I loved it so much that I have to buy a physical copy, and I want her to sign it. So I don't know how I'm going to get that done, but I, again, have hopes and dreams and aspirations in life, and that has officially become one of them. Okay, the next book that I read was also an audiobook, and I read Slay, I gave Slay like a 3.5 out of 5, almost like a 4 out of 5. It wasn't one of my favorite books. Like, books that I absolutely love and cannot stop thinking about, I would give a 5 out of 5. So don't be thrown off that I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the writing. It's just not my all-time favorite book. It didn't make me absolutely feel anything like love or make me cry like Black Girl Unlimited did. It was just all around a cute and good story. This follows a girl who is a video game creator, and it's a game for Black people because of course she is Black. And someone gets killed behind this game, and she's a secret owner, or like she's a secret creator. No one really knows who she is. She just created this game, and it's pretty much anonymous across the board. And after this kid dies, everyone's on the media, on the news, coming after her, saying that she should speak out, that she's being discriminatory by only allowing Black people to play the game, and it's just like this racist thing that needs to be shut down. And it's really great to correlate that to the real world, because there are gaps in almost every community when you think about almost anything. And so when people see a gap and a need to fill it in, and they go and say, hey, we don't have any safe space video games for Black people. Every time I play these games, everyone's on there being racist. I don't really feel included. I don't see characters that look like me. I don't see themes and trends in the game that relate to my culture. So there's a gap. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make this video game, and I'm gonna put everything in my game that is about my people and about my culture that I don't see in these mainstream video games. I feel like it was a great play on filling in the gap versus, are you contributing to the problem? Are you now being discriminatory as well by only allowing the people who weren't invited to this party into this party? And so I enjoyed that aspect of the book. I enjoyed the commentary from the outside people who didn't really understand the game and they didn't really know what it was for, people who felt left out just because they weren't included. People really feel entitled to things in this world, and I just thought that that was very, very interesting. I am doing a book club talk about this book with some fellow booktubers at the end of this month, because it's a part of the Next Chapter book club. They did pick Slay for this month's read, so you guys will get to hear my deep thoughts on my live show about Slay, as well as some of what the other fellow booktubers thought about the book as well. I don't know whose channel it's going to be on. You can definitely follow me on Twitter. I will be tweeting it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to put up a YouTube announcement or post as well. And so yeah, definitely check out our live show. Okay, so I smell ribs. My husband must be warming up ribs. I am so hungry. Anyway, so the last book that I read for the month of June was another audiobook as well, and that was A Song of Wraith and Ruin. I love this book. The writing, the pacing, the characters. It's a hate to love, murder to love, kill to love kind of romance. And I know that it's going to be a series, so I feel like the pacing was absolutely perfect, because they didn't just go from absolutely wanting, I wouldn't say they hate each other, but they don't go from having a murder plot in mind to head over heels in love. At the end of the book, they care for one another, they like one another, but they're still kind of torn between, I need to get something done and I need to kill this person, but this person is really nice and really sweet and I like being around them. I just feel like that was so realistic. I feel like a lot of times with these hate to love romances, they just go from hate to loving each other, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. How can you just love someone after just having an interaction with them for one time? Like, it's just not believable. So I love that she didn't ruin this book with that aspect. And also with the enemies to lover kind of romance, you don't necessarily love both characters. One of them is typically annoying, but I think because they both have an end game in mind, they both have family members and love members that they're trying to save, that it really helps you connect with both of them, because you understand why they have to do this impossible, sucky, tragic thing. And I loved both characters because it was very interesting getting to know them and understanding them. I will say that the plot twist at the end of the book I did not expect. I was actually, the whole time when I was getting towards the end of the book, I was wondering, like, how is she gonna wrap this up? I knew that there was gonna be a book 2, but I was really nervous that she was gonna wreck the ending of the book just because she could pick up where she left off. But I'm actually really happy with the way that she ended the book. She did close a chapter on this part of the story, but left the characters in a very prime position to where anything could happen in the next book, and I am looking forward to it. Like, this book just came out and I need book 2 already. I was nervous about this book because I'm like, what if it's like highly anticipated and then it drops the ball? Like, I don't want to have to not like this book, especially because I didn't love The City We Became, so I was already like in this iffy space. And I will say that I enjoyed listening to this book on audio. I would recommend the audiobook as well. There is a male character for the male point of view, and there's a female character for the female point of view, and yeah, it was just a really good book all around. So those are all the books that I read in the month of June. Like I said, I had a pretty good reading month. I'm proud of it. I have so many books that I just bought that I need to haul in my video, first of all, and also that I need to read. So just stay tuned to see what I come up with for the month of July, because I have no idea what I'm going to read at all. I will see you guys in my next video. Actually, how about you just, click on another video, like right here or right here, just anyone. You don't have to go anywhere. We're friends. You can stay here.